This is your math lesson for Unit 9, Lesson 5. So make sure you have your book out and open to Unit 9, Lesson 5. We're skipping Lesson 4. So in this lesson, you're going to be finding the volume with unit cubes. So what I want you to do while I do this is follow along on the video, but if I ask you to pause and do a question, then I want you to pause and do that question, and then when you're done answering it, you'll unpause, and then I'll answer it for you. But it's really important that you try some of these on your own. So when I say pause, make sure that you do that. Okay, let's get started. So first we have problem of the day. You can do this on your whiteboard or in your problem of the day box in your book. So Sammy divided 6 12/100 by 3 and got the quotient of 2 4/10. Find the correct quotient and tell what you think she did wrong. So she's dividing. I'm going to get you started and then I'm going to want you to pause it. She's dividing 6 12/100. We got that decimal in there by 3. So remember, when you're dividing, you divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. So now I want you to pause this and try to solve it and figure out what she did wrong, because she got 2.4 and that's not the correct answer. So go ahead and pause it now. Okay, hopefully you've done the work, and now I'm going to show you the answer. So first I divide. I know that 3 can go into 6, and it goes in 2 times, and I know I need to bring that decimal straight up. So now I'm on multiplication. 2 times 3 is 6. I subtract, and I bring down. You don't bring down the decimal goes up. Now, 3, so I just brought down, now I'm back on division. 1 divided by 3. Well, 3 can't go into 1, but I still have to write a number on top. So 3 goes into 1 0 times. That's what she did wrong. And so now I multiply. 0 times 3 is 0. I subtract, and I bring down. So I'm not done until there's nothing left to bring down. So now I'm back on division. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. I'm going to subtract. We get 0. There's nothing else to bring down. So the actual quotient is 2 4/10. So what she did wrong is when she was here, when she was at the 1, she skipped it and brought down again. She just went ahead and brought down that 2 right next to the 1 and went 3 into 12 and ended up with 2 and 4. So she brought down twice in a row, and you can't do that. You have to follow these steps even if the answer is 0. So hopefully you got that right. If not, figure out what you did wrong. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do is open to your objective part in Unit 9, Lesson 5. If you need to pause, go ahead and do that till you get there. And now you're going to write today's objective. So today, you're going to find the volume of a rectangular prism using unit cubes. So we're going to go over the definition of volume and rectangular prism here in a minute. But right now I'd like you to pause and write the objective on your lines. Okay, hopefully you've written down the objective. So now let's go over some definitions. So volume is the amount of space inside a 3-dimensional object. So for example, if you have a box, volume would be how much space fills up that box. If you were to fill that box up, that is volume. Now, a rectangular prism is a solid 3-dimensional object with 6 rectangular faces. I'm going to show you a picture of one here. So here's a rectangular prism. It's like a box. All of the sides, we call those faces. Like this is a face, this is a face. There are 6 of them on a box, and they're all rectangles. They could be squares, because a square is a rectangle, but they're all rectangles. And what's going to be important about our prisms is knowing the length, the measurement of the length the measurement of the width and the measurement of the height, because that's going to be able to help us find our volume, how much space is inside this box. Now a cube is still a rectangular prism. It has 6 sides, they're all rectangles, but all of the faces are squares. So your length, your width, and your height are all going to be the same number. So like if this was 3, since they're all squares and all the sides are the same, this would be 3, and this would be 3. So if you have a square rectangular prism, you really only need to know one of the dimensions, the length or the width or the height, because the rest are going to be exactly the same. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if I drew a cube, which is like a box, but it's all the sides are square, and this was 5 inches or feet or whatever, 5 unit cubes, well, we don't need to know, we don't have to have it written, the width and the height, because they're also going to be 5 if it's a cube. If it's not a cube and not all of the sides are square, then we do need to know what all the different sides are. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a few, and then I'm going to have you do a few. So on this one, we need to find the volume of this rectangular prism in unit cubes. Now to find the volume, the formula for volume is length times width times height. Easy enough. So it's length times the width times the height. And that's going to give us our volume. So I just use the V for volume. Volume equals length times width times height. And then I'm going to put the numbers in underneath it. The length is 5. The width is 3. The height is 4. Okay, so now I need to do some multiplication. Just do one thing at a time. Volume equals 15 times 4. And then if we go 15 times 4, we're going to end up with 60. So our volume equals 60 unit cubes. That's how we're going to label them today, is unit cubes. 60 unit cubes. Let me show you a few more, and then I'll have you do some. All right, so volume equals length times width times height. It's good to write the formula down so you don't leave anything out. So we're looking for volume, so we don't know that yet. Length is 4. Width is 6. And the height is 2. And it really doesn't matter what order you multiply them in, because the rule says with multiplication you can do them in any order. So volume equals 24, 4 times 6 is 24, times 2. Volume equals 48 unit cubes. All right. Let me show you one more, and then you get to do your own. So volume equals length times width times height, but this one doesn't have any labels, so let's read the problem. Find the volume of the cube whose length is 4 units. Here's the length. Now remember what I told you about a cube. All of the sides are the same. So we can write in the width and the height because it's a cube. Okay, so now I'm just going to go like this. The length is 4, the width is 4, the height is 4. So volume equals 16 times 4. And then if you go 16 times 4, you get 24. 4 times 1 is 4. 2, 64. Volume equals 64 unit cubes. So you are going to have to do some multiplication today. I think you will survive. Unit cubes. But it's pretty easy. Length times width times height tells us how much space is inside a 3-dimensional rectangular prism. So these are your structured guided practice. So I would like you to solve this one in your book under structured guided practice, and then you'll pause this and then unpause it and check your answer with me. Okay, so go ahead and have your book, open your book to Structured Guided Practice. You should see this same rectangular prism and solve it and then unpause it. So go ahead and pause now. Okay, hopefully you've solved it. I'm hoping that you wrote down the formula first. Volume equals length times width times height. Volume equals the length is 1, the width is 1, and the height is 10. This is a kind of easy one. So volume equals 1 times 1 is 1 times 10. Volume equals 10 unit cubes. All right? If you did not get this right, take a look at this and see where you went wrong so that the next one you're more successful. Okay. If you're ready to move on, here we go. You're going to solve this in your notebook, and then you'll pause it, solve it, and then unpause it. So go ahead and pause now. Okay. This is a cube. Volume equals length times width times height. So remember, on a cube, they only have to give you one side because all the sides are the same. So volume equals the length is 6. The width is 6, and like I said, it doesn't matter what order. Well, definitely in this case, it doesn't matter what order because they're all the same number. So 6 times 6 is 36 times 6. And then if we go 36 times 6, 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 3 is 18, 19, 20, 21. So we get 216 unit cubes, which is hopefully what you got. If you did not get this, take a look at what I did and figure out where you went wrong. But hopefully you got it right. Hopefully you are being successful with this lesson. It's just length times width times height. And if it's a cube, you just multiply the one side 3 times. Not by 3, but 3 times. And then something else to remember is make sure you label it unit cubes. Okay, so now you're going to complete the final check for understanding, take it to our guest teacher to check your work, and then once you've gotten 2 pluses, you'll move on to the student practice problems. If for any reason you need to rewatch part of this video to remind you of what you do, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, the video is going to end and you're going to start your final check for understanding.